Well, and change orders, right? The icky, yucky, dirty word that nobody likes. When you don't have an owner's rep, these poor people, whether you're a corporation or a franchisee, are getting hit with change orders that may or may not be, necessary. We've done a lot of research where we had to go back and look at work letters and leases and what the landlord was supposed to deliver to help our clients avoid having to pay unnecessary change orders. And these change orders for these builds from anywhere from a 3,000 square foot site all the way up to, 100,000, they're not.
Have you ever wondered how successful architecture, engineering, and construction companies scale their business?
Or have you ever wanted guidance on how to get more growth, wealth, and freedom from your AEC company?
Well, then you are in luck. Hi, I'm Will Forat.
And I'm Justin Nagel, and we're your podcast hosts.
We interview successful AEC business leaders to learn how they use people, process, and technology to scale their businesses.
So sit back and get ready to learn from the industry's best. This is Building Scale.
Hey listeners, it's Will here. Our mission is to help the AEC industry protect itself by making technology easy. If you've ever listened to our show, then you know that the three pillars of scaling a business are people, process, and technology. So if you suspect technology is your weak link, then book a call with us to see where we can help maximize your company's IT and cybersecurity strategy. Just go to buildingscale.net/help.
Today's guests are Jacqueline Loftis and Amanda Simon, who are principals at Cressa. Cressa is the world's most trusted occupier-centric commercial real estate and project management firm who focuses on delivering seamless project execution with dedicated program and transition managers. They have expertise in multi-site projects, from site selection to project management and construction, and deliver an on-time, budget-conscious project with single-source accountability across various industries. Jacqueline has over 25 years of experience in sales and business development within construction and project management. She has a proven track record of driving business growth, securing new clients, and expanding global presence. Her previous roles include Director of Business Development at Cresa and managing a large multi-site clients at Savan, or Seven, depending on who you are, multi-site solutions. Amanda is an agile and innovative leader in program and construction management with expertise and experience in operations. She has established programs and teams for multi-site scaling for global companies. Amanda oversaw projects for major national organizations like Amazon Fresh, Walmart, F45, and Sprouts. And with all that fun stuff said, Jacqueline and Amanda, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're super excited to be here.
Yes, I know you're excited because your excitement level before we started recording was off the charts. So therefore, I can only imagine that you're going to bring the heat, because that's the two of you, in every time I've interacted with you, has been like a spark plug of awesomeness. So I'm super stoked. So I went through all the cool stuff that we say in our bios and all that great shit, essentially. But tell us the real story. How did you get into the space? How did you two of you come together to create this tag team of awesomeness? And tell us about Cressa.
Yeah, awesome. Amanda, do you want me to start? Or
Yeah, go for it.
So Amanda and I, or some call us Thelma and Louise, right? We've worked together previously at one of the employers that you had mentioned, and really formed a really good professional and personal bond there. So joining Cressa was really great on a lot of levels, but culturally we fit in really well with Cressa, and they offer a lot of things that we can also offer to our clients that maybe we weren't able to offer before. But construction, sales, project management has really been my passion, along with people, since I started, working when I was 15 years old. I had my first job, but it's going great. We've been here about 5 months, and I feel like we've been here for 5 years already. So going very, very, very well.
She means that in the best way, not the worst way.
I actually was thinking, I'm like, when I say this to my wife, wonderfully, we've been married for 9 years. When I say it's like, it feels like 90, she's not happy. But when I say it feels like 9 days, she's very excited about that. But I don't know the math. No. I don't understand it.
We've made such huge strides in such a short period of time that it feels like we've been here longer, and we've really gotten to know everybody at Cressa, and we've got some great new client relationships that we're working. So I think that's what Jacqueline meant. I don't want to put words in her mouth.
Of course, that's what I meant. No, of course, that's what I meant. And every day we're learning something new, and we're meeting new clients. And again, at the end of the day, that's what's most important to Amanda and I, are the clients of Cressa and the future clients of Cressa. And it just makes it exciting, and every day is different. So, that's me, and happy to be here. So I'll pass it over to Amanda, and she can give a little bit of her.
Yeah, I mean, I like Justin's introduction of me. I think that kind of summarizes everything really well. But I fell into the construction industry. I graduated with a degree in psychology and went to law school. And while I love the letter of the law school wasn't really for me. I found a job in accounting where I hated every minute of being locked in an office doing the same thing every day, and was just looking for a creative outlet, and, just fell into construction. It's just been a series of really good opportunities and really lucky opportunities that I've seized, and I've had a great go of it.
No, that's great.
Going from law to construction, you're going to have to give a little bit more than that, because I would not say that's the normal path that most people take going into the industry.
Yeah, my parents were so disappointed in me, let me tell you.
Sorry, Mom and Dad.
Right. It wasn't for me. I love a competitive environment, but I like to lift people up around me. And law school as an environment is a lot different than that. You're kind of pitted against each other in a way that I just didn't love. And I looked around, and I'm sure the people are great and wonderful, but I'm like, these are the people I have to deal with every single day. And I wanted out. I couldn't do it. I'm great with math. I found a really nice, stable job in accounting. And law and accounting have both really helped me in what I do. I do a lot of lease reading. There's a lot of budgeting. So it's not like it hasn't supported where I'm at. But I could have probably fallen into a lot of different careers, and I just feel very fortunate that an opportunity in construction presented itself, and I've really never looked back.
Now, I also had a past in law, not as a lawyer, as someone working at a law firm for over 7 years. So I know your feeling on what that environment can be like, for sure.
Yeah.
And that's why we hired him and made sure that the spark stayed alive and well.
Yeah,
that's a whole
other background in law, but not as a lawyer. I thought you were going the criminal path.
Me too. I was like, are we going there on this podcast?
Yeah, let me explain to you all my criminal dealings. No. Working from doing conflicts to records to HR, and then into business development, kind of across the board. But Will, the origin story of me is to Spot was him and Kasha rescued me from total misery, which was very obvious. I should get a picture of it and side by side it, and like how much happier I look right now than I did then. But yeah, law can drain you in all kinds of horrible ways.
Yeah, but we need it, and we love lawyers, so
for
we'll
sure.
end it with that. We build out a lot of attorneys' offices too, and they're beautiful and they're amazing and they're wonderful to work with. So
tell us a little bit about what you guys actually do, and then if, let's say, Justin and I were representing a firm with, let's say we wanted to build out 500 stores, what does that look like?
Yeah, do you want me to take this, Amanda?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, well, it actually starts with me. So our process, really, I'm kind of the first person or the first face that the client sees. But Justin, you kind of hit on it at the beginning when you kind of talked about Cressa and multi-site and retail and all of that. But our goal is to help our client, whether that's a corporation, a headquarters, a franchisor, a franchisee, a partner. There's all different types of verticals of who we're actually working for. But clients who are looking to expand at a certain rate under a certain budget and do it quickly. Really, that's where we come in. So the multi-site program project management would take a client who wants to open 500 new sites. We call them NSOs, new store openings, or it could be a remodel, a rebranding. It could be they want to add a double lane drive-through. So all different types of projects can go under the multi-site. But what we're there to do is really hold their hand. So it starts with meeting me. And I kind of lead the business development, and Amanda leads operations. And we kind of hear what their vision are We understand their brand. That's number one. We're not just about, hey, we'll give you a proposal tomorrow. We really want to know and understand the people and the brand that we're working with and what their vision is. And of course, we need to understand the financial model, right? How much do they have? How much do they want to spend? Are they private equity backed? Are these franchisees or franchisors paying for all of these costs? So once we really have that mental model of what the client is trying to do, we'll kind of map out our involvement and where the client can insert us kind of where needed. You'll hear it a lot that we can be an extension of their team, because some clients have, people like project managers already on board, so they might not need the full scale of our offering. But once we kind of understand where they're going and what they want to do, we'll ride sidecar with their real estate partner, whether that's Cressa or someone else. A lot of people have good relationships with their current brokers, and a lot of them are also looking for new brokers. So what's great about what Amanda and I are doing is we're our own division. So we can work with our own brokers, and we can work alongside with other technically competitors. So it's a no conflict, right? So we're there to make sure that our client is getting the best deal, the best dollars to build out their new facility. And then from there, we bring Amanda in, and she kind of talks on the operations side, and really we help them through architecture, permitting, design standards, brand books, construction, and then site visits, walkthroughs, and then all the way to their, what I call ribbon cutting or grand opening. So that's all of it in a pretty little box, and it's really easy. And Amanda loves when I tell clients that this is so easy and flawless, and she's like, there may be issues, and that's
right.
Okay.
She creates this expectation within the client that they're not going to have any worries. Like once they sign on the dotted line, that life is beautiful and grand, and then I have to come in with all the hard conversations. So
that's right.
She's good cop, I'm bad cop. We went and saw the musical Wicked together, and what's the name? You're Glinda, the good witch, and I'm like the totally misunderstood evil witch that has to deliver all the bad news. So yeah, we're going to get you through the program, and you're going to end up with exactly what it is that you want. But there are stumbling blocks along the way. So that's when me and my team come in. Like we help create process that helps eliminate some of those and mitigate those. And we handle it on behalf of our client so that they can focus on what they do best. They're not construction people. They don't need to understand and learn this stuff. Some of them want to, some of them think it's fun, and I'm happy to allow them to participate. But I actually want to touch on something that Jacqueline said in there that I think is really important and part of why we came to Cressa, and something that we're really embracing within Cressa, and that's that we get to know our clients and embrace who they are and what their culture is. And Jacqueline and I are in a position where we are the decision makers on whether we move forward with something or not. And having the ability to work with brands that we really believe in and not having to say yes to everything is really, really important to who we are. And I'm so proud to be in a position in our career where we can do that. So we learned from a client a couple of years ago, and his motto was, he won't work with assholes. And we've really embraced that in what it is that we're doing. We love who we work with, and we try to really foster a fun environment and have fun with our clients.
Yeah. We love the no asshole clause. We're all about that life.
Look, life's too short, right? And again, we talk about, like, we try not to take ourselves too seriously, but life's too short. We want to work with good people. We want to do good work. Will things go wrong? Like Amanda said, yes. Will we make it right? Absolutely. Will you know about it ahead of time? That's why you hire us. Do we want you focusing on your social media and your marketing and your new member signups? That's what we want you focusing on, while we are identifying risks before you sign your lease, while we are identifying contractors that will do the best for you. So that's why we're there. And when you talk about cost, right? So everyone's always like, well, how much does it cost, right? That's how the world works today, right? And I don't know if I love you get what you pay for saying. I mean, I've seen it both ways, but with this, the ROI in hiring Amanda and I and Cressa is immediate. I mean, typically we'll see a savings within the first few weeks of being engaged, because we are identifying things that they already started doing that they shouldn't have been doing. So that's probably the hardest part of our job, is just explaining fees. But what's great on kind of the methodology that Amanda and I came up with is there's no minimum sites required. There's no minimum square footage or even minimum spend. It's a per site basis. And if you're doing 2 sites, we're your people. If you're doing 2,000 sites, we're your people. So we have our own scalable process that, the secret sauce that we've come up with, that allows us to work with people who aren't ready to go to 2,000 or even 200 or 20 sites. So that's what I love. And just echoing what Amanda said, we have more control, and we get to do things the way that we feel is best for our clients.
Well, and I think I said it before we started taping, but what's the cost of not having us there, right? Well, it's the shoe example.
Yep.
Yeah, the red bottoms.
What type of shoe are you buying? Because there's the hard cost of a shoe, right? And then there's the soft costs of a shoe.
Or a ring. We could talk about rings too. I mean,
Rings, dresses,
Sure.
lots of items. There are lots of items that fall in this category.
Most people can relate to shoes.
Let's talk about this process a little bit. So obviously we believe people, process, and technology, that's how you scale, right? That's how you make a scalable thing exist. Let's start with people. How do you find people? How do you connect with the right people? How do you find those people that fit your belief of what the business you want to build and the culture that you're trying to build, not necessarily just internally together, but also like, hey, we want our clients to be a certain way, and have certainly not an asshole, but like, there's other qualities to go with that. So how do you find people? Let's start there. Jacqueline, you're Miss Business Development, so let's fire
it's my job. Well, I think, I know Amanda and I don't look like we've been in the business 25 years, and there's no filters on this little setup that we have here. But number one is referrals, right? References, referrals. So you do a good job, you're a good person, you treat people well, your name gets put out there, in both the business that I came from and Amanda. So that's number one, right?
Well, and that extends beyond just the business that we're chasing, right? I have to staff a team to support this too. So having referrals to get the right people on your team who are going to support your culture and embrace your clients, it's exactly what Jacqueline said. Word of mouth is number one.
Yep. Number two would really be just that networking. Amanda and I, again, I'm heavy BD, she's heavy ops, but we both know both roles, and we want people to trust who they're working with. So her and I will go and do a lot of networking events, lunches, dinners, collaborating with other team members. It's exhausting, you guys. Anyone who says it's fun and we love it, but anyone in sales.
I'm up to my ears in construction issues, and Jacqueline's like, am I going to get steak or chicken? No.
Nice, Amanda. Like an operator, always, downgrading the business development, which fuels the fire of everything.
Exactly. It's a lot of work, but so we do a lot of that. And then trade shows. That's huge. We have our first really big trade show next month in Phoenix called Retail Spaces.
Oh, yeah.
We've done it prior. Yeah. Big shout out to Retail Spaces. We've done them prior, right, with our other, companies that we've worked at. But this will be our first one representing Cressa. So super excited to do those. So we're really picky, as far as what events we go to, as far as who we work with, right? And that goes the same for the clients. They're picky on who they work with too. And we respect that, and we respect the client who has existing relationships. So I try not to cold call a ton, honestly. I hope no one from Cressa is listening right now, but cold calling, I will do it, and I'll do it when I'm passionate about who I'm reaching out to, right? When we talk about working with brands we love, when we talk about having experience with those verticals, right, where we can actually bring real life experience to a health and wellness brand, a grocer brand, right? Those are big backgrounds that Amanda and I have. So, but when I do cold call, right, it's hard. Like, I'm not 20 anymore. I remember having to just dial. How many calls? And really that's a numbers game. You make 100 calls, you get one call back, right? I feel like I'm at the age where I don't need to play a number game. I'm going to just be my true authentic self. I'm going to bring what I can bring to the table. And if there's a need, then the right client will ask for a meeting. So that's business development right there, right? So
in a nutshell, right there.
It's in a nutshell. But operations is messier and not as fun. But
I'm totally with you there. Operations, I don't. I've been fired from operations. That's why I'm CEO. Yeah.
I think it's just as fun. I mean, we get to develop the relationship further. We get to really get to know everybody. And a lot of times in the process, right, we're going to get on calls with people that maybe we're not actually going to fill much of a need for them. And those are the calls that we're going to thank them for getting to know us and kind of walk away. But we want to be able to add value, and we want our clients to want to work with us, and we want them to refer us to future clients too.
So that's the people bucket.
For sure. I love that you mentioned the internal people, right? Like, the concept of getting, new business is great. But the same concept of how do I get new people that I'm going to be working with that are going to believe what we believe and the culture we're building, and like really have that essentially recruitment process that exists, right? It's that ongoing passive recruiting. Like, hey, I know this person's amazing, and maybe one day they will have a spot for them. But like just being good to people generally makes things good for you. That's what I've found in life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and with multi-site, it's a big thing that we tell our potential clients and our existing clients. We hire the right person. And our idea, when you're doing multi-site and you're scaling, we don't want to have 20 different people on your jobs. We want 1 or 2 or 3 people, depending on the size of the opportunity, to know everything about that brand, whether it's in Dallas, Texas, Orlando, Florida, or Chicago. So again, having that network of people, hiring the right people and keeping them in front of the client, regardless of where it's at. We do, Cressa does a lot of big industrial and office build outs, onesie, twosies in different regions. And that model works, right? We have 85 offices, 2,000, over 1,500 employees and over 2,000 clients. So we can send a team from Dallas to do a build out in Dallas. But when you're talking about that process of 20 new sites a year, we want to keep that same team doing those same 20 sites. So rinse and repeat, not having to retrain someone new that came in who's only built a grocery store and now has to do this. There's a lot of, intricacies to learn in construction, right? So.
And people are sometimes like, doesn't that get boring? You're building the same thing over and over and over again. But I get excited by building teams and helping build careers and building new processes and finding new innovative ways to do things. And that kind of volume is really, really challenging. So on one hand, right, I've built a high rise. That's really complicated. And on the other hand, I've built, 100, 2,000 square foot retail spaces over the course of 1 year. And there's a huge challenge involved in that as well. So you're building the same thing over and over and over again, but you're building a lot more than just what you're going to walk into as a consumer.
I imagine that it's a very iterative process between the first sort of, we'll call it building, or the first job site, versus the 20th, versus the 40th, versus the 100th. Does it?
How
much does it change?
Depends when you bring us in, right? So if this is just a twinkle in your eye and you're creating something brand new, we can certainly help reduce some of that. But absolutely, there is an evolution from site 1 to site 100 to site 500. It's that idea that the bar should always continue to be raised. Like, just because you have something that's great right now doesn't mean you can't make it better. There's always new technology. There's always this new wave that's coming that everyone wants to jump on. So what you build today could be fantastic, but it's very iterative.
Well, and cost effective, right? So that when you work with Amanda and I, we're also looking for cost savings from site 1 to site 100 that we're bringing to the client. Let's say we're on site 10 and we meet a great millwork vendor, right, at an event. And we're like, gosh, this guy seems great. His pricing is really good. We'll bring in, value engineering, we'll call it, that's the standard term in our industry. But we're always looking for and identifying opportunities where we can save our end user, the client, any type of financial savings, whether that's with a product, a service, or something internal that we've come up with. And we've adjusted our pricing too. By site 10, if we found efficiencies, that we've learned, we'll come back and say, hey, your per site fee is now this. We've shortened our time frame. Therefore, you get the savings. So, which is really great. And clients like that. We're just total transparency.
So this is actually a very good segue to talk about something that's in the industry, which is low bid, right?
Ugh.
And okay, I am so glad that you said that.
Let me get my wine.
Okay. Low bid, obviously, there are things that go wrong with low bid for exactly the reason why it's called low bid, right? And so then it becomes a conversation of value versus cost. How do you talk about, because value, right, is on the one side, cost saving, right? That's one aspect, but then the other side is value. And not all value can be portrayed directly, right? It's not dollar in equals $1.50 out or whatever, right? Dollar in equals, or cutting a cost 50 cents out. So can you talk a little bit about that and how that differentiates versus, let's say, low bid, and what's your involvement with low bid? Because I'm sure there are some stories there too.
Yeah, I think there's a couple things here, and I'll let Jacqueline talk about it from how we price project and program management. And then, Jacqueline, if you want me to talk about the low bid as it relates to the actual build, I can jump in on that.
Yeah, I'm laughing right now because
I know
you're like the Wicked Witch in the West, and you're wearing green today. Because I know there'll be times where I, will say, this client needs us to get to this price, and she's like, no. But
I believe that if you win a client based on price, you're going to lose them based on price too. If that's all that matters to them, that's not a good fit for what it is that we do. Right. We bring a lot of value to the table, and if we have to have that conversation, we only win based on price, we'll lose it based on price. Yeah. And then I've built a process for someone else, and that's not fun.
Yeah, and I was kind of joking, but again, we're a team, right? So I like to communicate with Amanda about what the client's saying, right, before it gets to that sold state. So low bid, I always call wrong bid, right? That's just my term.
Ooh,
if it's low
like
bid, it's the wrong bid, and I mean that when it's way low, right? Usually, a lot of times in our business, we'll see things that everyone's right in the same ballpark, right? Which that makes me feel well, and I always tell people, if you have an existing relationship and you're happy with the service you're getting, then you know what? Then I understand why you want to stay. I've also had the conversations where, this person's 50% less. And I tell them, well, then you need to review the scope. I can review it with you. There's something that's not right. And I'll walk them through. Really, it's just labor. There's an hourly rate that it costs us to do our job and how many hours that we have established that we need to perform this work. And I actually learned a lot when I was in, doing a lot of heating, ventilation, air conditioning work. And it was the same thing when you talk about maintenance, right? You get your furnace cleaned and checked, your rooftop units cleaned and checked. And I would see that your price is so much higher. And I would say it's based on the number of hours needed to do the work, which anybody can look online, how long is it going to take to do something. So normally what we'll do is, we'll give our pricing and our proposal. And I never ask, I don't ask, what's your budget, right? Because that doesn't, for something like this, that we're doing, you're not building a house, right? So for a program manager, they might have a construction budget on what they think it's going to cost for the actual build, but we're a consultant, right? We're a third party entity to them. So we'll give our price and then they'll come back and, oh gosh, really? Do I really need this? And that's where I'll really walk them through the number of hours, how long we're engaged. That's huge, right? We always identify this is 8 months of us being engaged. And that's from, site selection all the way to opening. And that's based on Amanda and I determining how long is your construction, how long is your permitting, how long for your drawings. So yeah, we have some uncomfortable conversations sometime, but I think since we've kind of gone out with Cressa, we have a bit more control on our pricing. So it really hasn't happened much now, but I think when we work for other companies, right, it's a little bit of a different stage that we're on. So we can control that a little bit more now. And I think the right clients understand the pricing and they understand our delivery method and they understand the number. So yeah, and again, if I need to lower the price, we'll talk about it as a bigger opportunity. If I would say with franchisees, right? And that's where you have a model where you have the franchisor has a brand that they're selling to franchisees, which are, could be the Nagel family, the Foret family, my family, whoever, your next door neighbor. And that's a little different, right? These are people who are venturing into a new thing, and we're sensitive to that, and we'll hold their hand and do whatever we can to make it work, right? We're not here, making super, super, super high margins, and we're also not here to lose money either. So I think both parties understand that, and we'll try to help when we can.
Yep.
So, talk to me a little bit about where, let's say you've talked to a client, or if you've got even a story where maybe you lost out initially. They thought someone was cheaper, right? This is the cheaper versus value conversation. Thought you were kind of more expensive, and then sometime later they're like, "Oh, we get it now." And what do you do in those type of situations?
So I would say more than with this type of business, with the program project management, it's never that they went with someone else, and I can confidently really say that. Maybe 10% of the time, it's that they didn't go with anyone, right? So we've seen that more in our business than losing it to a competitor. They think they can do it in themselves. So I can talk, I'm talking towards that, where they're like, we're just not going to do anybody. But then what happens is they call, weeks or months later, and then I hand it over to Amanda, because this client could be paying dead rent, stuck in permit because no one told them that in this county that it could take up to 6 months for a permit. So then I go to Amanda and I ask her, how can we help?
She usually says, hey, since they're already halfway through the process, can we reduce our price by half? And I'm usually like, if they're halfway through the process and they're coming to us, something's going horribly wrong, we should double our price.
That's right.
But that doesn't happen. They're like, well, wait, I didn't need you for my LOI and my
but now you're stuck with a bad work letter, with bad construction terms, and with a timeline that you can't hit. Dead rent, like it starts to get really, really challenging.
Yeah.
But we try to help. I mean, we're bleeding hearts at our core, even though I'm the Wicked Witch.
No. I need to get a wand like Linda.
I know, right? You need a bubble.
Would it be fair to call you an owner's rep, or would you call yourself something else? Owner's rep. Okay. Mm-hmm. Owner's rep. And you have a lot of control, especially within Cressa, you have a lot of control over the actual GC construction process. Mm-hmm. What about, so when we talk about process here for a second,
sure.
Are there times where you're less owner rep and you're more working side by side on more of a consultative basis? And why would someone want to do that? If that's the case, why would someone want to do that if they have, let's say, their own owner's rep, right? I think you've got some examples of that. Is that true?
So when you're talking program project management, right, some people call it owner's rep. So we are not the GC. We're not the general contractor, and we won't even hold the paper for that. What we bring is our network of GCs, our experience with these vendors that we vet, and that we'll take their drawings out to bid and get, hopefully 5, but we try to get between 3 and 5 bids per site, right? So that's the value that we bring. As far as, I guess your question is, why would they not use an owner's rep? Or I guess I was
Why not use an owner's rep? Yeah.
Oh, because Uncle Bob can build my site. Because Joey next door is a plumber, and he said he's going to help me. And I know a guy who works at City Hall who's going to get me my permit. So those are all things that we've heard. I was just on a call the other day where someone said, well, I got a guy. And I go, oh, boy, like we all got a guy, right? But when you're paying, high dollar rent, look at rent right now in retail spaces is not inexpensive, right? So one mistake can cost you those 3 to 6 months of dead rent that you don't have your clients coming in, whether you're a fitness studio, a grocer, any type of health and wellness brand, fast food restaurant. If you don't have somebody owning that responsibility and bringing all those stakeholders to the table and holding them all accountable, it will be a very painful site, and you probably will never open your site too. That's
Okay.
what I tell people. So yeah, the benefit is that you have someone who knows what they're doing in this industry, and that's going to hold everyone accountable for your benefit. We literally are there for their benefit.
Yeah, and this kind of comes full circle right back to the low bid conversation. So on the construction side, we're going to go out to bid, and you're going to have a low bid, you're going to have a high bid. And when working with certain brands, they are very price conscious. And having somebody with 25 years of construction experience steering the ship, you're safer if you have to choose the low bid when you have us there. And sometimes we luck into some really great relationships with guys who are just pricing things a little lower and maybe didn't have the experience and were looking for the opportunity. And now all of a sudden they're involved in a national brand and they end up being the best resource. So I don't turn my nose up all the time at low bid, but it certainly is something that we pay attention to in our industry, and why having an owner's rep at your side is going to be really useful to you. You can go forward with the low bid if you have to.
Well, and talk about the phone, right? Guess who gets the calls during this whole year process from site selection? It's Amanda, and it's not these poor clients, right? Who don't want to be yelled at by a GC who didn't show up on Tuesday, or the paint never got done. And so we are taking all of those headaches off of their plate. And that right there is worth every dollar that we charge.
Yeah, and that's why franchisors like us. So if we're not involved, they're the ones who are fielding all the calls from the franchisee and everything that's going wrong. And they have other things that they need to be doing to support their brand. When you bring us in, we're that buffer between it. So we have regular touch points with the franchisors so they understand how the program is running and how the franchisees are within their own build. But we take all those calls. I mean, people have access to me 24/7. They can call me, they can text me, and they're not shy about it.
Yeah.
So if you don't hold the paper, if you don't hold the paper, then how can you affect, or where are some of the biggest, we'll call it differences, or biggest value things that you can bring to the table, or how does it change the relationship then if you go direct GC?
Yeah, we still drive all of it, and we help our clients in contracting direct with the general contractors or whatever vendors. So we're just not holding the paper. The signature isn't ours. We're not paying them direct, but we're still running all of that. And all of the vendors that are coming to the table understand they'd probably rather talk to us than the franchisee or the client as well. We understand the program in a way that they couldn't possibly, right? Like if you're looking to start a massage location, you don't understand what millwork contracts should look like. You don't understand what insurance requirements should be for a general contractor, and you shouldn't have to understand those things. So we still run the entire conversation. We just don't sign the paper.
Well, and change orders, right? The icky, yucky, dirty word that nobody likes. When you don't have an owner's rep, these poor people, whether you're a corporation or a franchisee, are getting hit with change orders that may or may not be, necessary. We've done a lot of research where we had to go back and look at work letters and leases and what the landlord was supposed to deliver to help our clients avoid having to pay unnecessary change orders. And these change orders for these builds from anywhere from a 3,000 square foot site all the way up to 100,000, they're not small. This isn't $500-$600. These are thousands and thousands of dollars, and usually large things that are being identified that are now responsible for the new tenant. So it's our job to help mitigate those risks and to fight for our client when change orders come up, which they do.
And change orders can be the difference of 10, even 20% of the entire project.
Yep. Exactly.
So that can be the difference of I'm making money and I'm not making money.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
When you're going through, obviously you have a network of contractors that you've used already. You trust that already exists. What would be a good way for somebody to crack in to being able to be, hey, I want to be seen as a preferred, GC or whatever contractor vendor that, you would say, hey, I'm putting out bid 3 to 5. I get 3 to 5 back. How do I become one of those 3 to 5? And then how do I show you that I might not have the experience, or I might not have, done 2,000 stores, or I may not have done 100 stores, whatever it is. How do I crack into that as a contractor? Like, what would be a good advice to say, like, hey, obviously network helps. Like, obviously relationships are crucially helpful, but like, how do I show up and get your attention?
Bacon chicken, lunches. No, we actually just went to lunch with a couple vendors who did exactly that. They reached out. They said they saw what Amanda and I are doing at Cressa. Can we take you to lunch? We'd love you to meet our team. We don't have to eat. We don't really eat that much anyway. But so we go to lunch and get to kind of know who they are as people, right? Because it goes back to the cold calling, right? I would want someone to at least hear what I can offer, right? It doesn't mean they have to buy it. So we're kind of softies with that. Yeah, we'll come out and meet you for coffee or whatever. And then it goes to who have you worked with? How about some references? And then usually 9 out of 10 times between the two of us, we know people who know people who've used them or tell us to not use them or, hey, they're smaller but are capable. So I think it goes back to that same.
I have a different perspective on this, maybe.
Ooh, yes.
There you go.
I love it.
Yeah, this goes back to what excites me about what I do. I like to build things, whether it's teams, whether it's careers. I like to build things, and I like to find the next best thing. So this is right up my alley. I love this stuff. So, I mean, if someone were to reach out for me and they wanted to understand how they could land on my bid list, I would send them a sample drawing and I would ask them to bid it. And they had better give me a really amazing breakdown and show me that they really understand not just the project as it's drawn on paper, but what the client needs are and how they're going to work through that with me to make my life easier, to make my team's life easier. And they have to show me they're not an asshole. Like, I'm going to poke at them a little, and Jacqueline has seen me do it. I'm going to ask some tough questions when we're on these conversations reviewing their bids, and I want to see how they respond to me in those times. So just reach out to us. That's step one. We'd love to talk to you.
Can I get one of those questions, one of those tough questions, just to get a flavor of what this looks like, what a tough question looks like?
Oh boy, now really on the spot.
Can you give a contextual, a little bit of context here?
I poke at people a little bit, and I've spent a lot of time on site, and in order to understand what it actually takes to do the work, sometimes I undo what trades have done on site, and I try to redo it myself. So I figure, like, if this takes me this long to do, you should be able to do it a lot faster. So I will poke at people's numbers. Like, you're carrying all these hours in here. Like, who do you have doing the work? Is this your child and your grandmother doing the work, or is this an actual... And I like to see how they respond to that. Are they going to laugh and be like, oh, maybe it is a little bit high, or are they going to get really mean about it? Like, this is just what it costs. And I can respect both answers, but I'm interested in how they respond and not just what they respond with.
Ooh,
well,
so
we are a family business. My kid and grandma are crucial to the organization.
I think that's true as well. Yeah. But if we've got grandma who comes in a walker climbing up a 10-foot ladder to help with ceiling tiles, it's going to take her a little longer. And I'm okay with that, but maybe her rate shouldn't be as much hourly because she's not producing as much, right?
That's good advice. Good advice. Maybe the rate should be lower.
Yeah.
Well, and it goes back to transparency too, right? Like Amanda and I, and I've seen her do this too. We'll respect and love someone who says, hey, I missed the boat here. I left something out. I'm losing money on this. Is there anything we can do? If not, I'll make it right and I'll do the work. But again, it goes back to like working with not assholes and good people. Just be honest, right? Like there shouldn't be any hidden formula, right? This is the cost. Here's what we're making, and that's it. And we're looking for partners. And that's the thing. We're looking for partners and relationships to build on with. Because as we scale, we don't want to go out to bid to 20 people. That's not the business that we're in. We want to keep it smaller, and we want other companies to make money as well, right? And it's just good people, good work. But I loved how you jumped in and you're like, I disagree. And honestly, it's funny, but this is us, and that's why it works. I have another, I view things a little different than she does, but we respect them both, we listen both, and it works. And we find that medium, and we find what works for the client. So yeah, that's why podcasts are awesome. I mean, it's no BS. It's, call her daddy, Alex Cooper. She's like the best. I just love her. And yeah, she says it like, just no bullshit. Like, let's just talk and say what it is, and nothing's scripted. And that's like Amanda and I. Nothing's scripted. Nothing's the same. Our pitches aren't scripted. Every client hears a different story. It's not all, the same exact.
Well, with vendors, right? There's a reason Jacqueline's business development and I'm operations. She's really tolerant of those lunch and social things. And I'm like, no, I don't want to go. I mean, we get invitations all day long. Jacqueline's like, you have to go to this. I'm like, I'm not going. It's no.
That brings up for us, one of our core values at Spot is we're candid. It's hardcore. It's internal to each other. No bullshit that way, but also to clients. Nobody wants to hear that, like, their server's about to crash, right? Like, nobody wants to hear that shit. But being real with somebody and saying, like, this is going to hurt. Like, we're in a position that this isn't great. When we walk into a new client, it's like, oh, things aren't working well. And it's like, yeah, well, we can see why things aren't working well now. And this isn't going to be a pleasant experience. We're going to make it as good as we possibly humanly can. But there are going to be bumps, because inherently that's what happens when you aren't maintaining things the right way. So I love the
hired. I love it.
You're hired.
So we believe wholeheartedly in being candid. Like I said, it's one of our core values. We think it makes a huge difference when you can just say it and not try to tiptoe around or politic it around or however you want to phrase it. Just get to the point. Say what it is. Obviously, don't be rude, but get to the point. Right. We can just get through this and then get to the thing that actually gets us to the solution that's going to make things better for everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Justin, I think it's time to talk a little tech.
Sure.
Technology. Talk to us a little bit about technology. A little bit about how technology. Right, how technology influences what you do, and maybe if there's any technologies you really rely on, and talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, technology in our industry is everything from how things are being built now to how we're tracking how they're built to new things with artificial intelligence. I mean, it's really the future, and it's always been the future, and it will continue to always be the future. So. Do I have any favorites? Maybe. I don't know. Right now we use a lot of Smartsheet, and that's great. I think that there's a lot of new AI that's about to come to the forefront of what it is that we do that's going to really change how we operate and how efficient we can be. And I'm talking to some companies that have some new ideas coming up, and I think it's a really exciting thing, but I'm a big fan of technology.
So do you have examples of where either underutilization or overutilization of a technology can harm what you do or, experience around that?
I worry that people in our industry are afraid to embrace artificial intelligence because there is a concern that it might take away what they do on a day-to-day basis. And I would encourage people to think of it a lot differently. You're going to be able to operate so much more efficiently and more effectively if you embrace this. It doesn't replace us. It replaces some of what we do in a really, really useful way. I think about things like a conversation that I've heard about artificial intelligence that would allow you to scan a job site while it's in construction and overlay it with drawings and immediately call out if there's any misalignment in what's going on site with what should be going on site. And the amount of time that you save doing that, and you don't have to send a skilled person out there to do this. I mean, it creates so much efficiency and allows for us to build so much more that I'm hopeful people in our industry will really embrace it instead of shy away from it. I know I'm going to embrace it. It's going to be fun.
Well, and real estate's using a lot of it too now, right?
Yeah.
There's all these tools out there that can tell you, I mean, it's a little scary, but who's pulling into what gas station and where are they going after? Are they going to get a soda across the street at the drive-thru, or are they walking into that gas station to purchase a drink, right? The age of that person, the household income, how many children you have, are there kids in school? Do they have disabilities? Do they need any extra help, with tutoring? Crazy things out there. But again, it's not to harm, right? At least what we're doing is to really help guide and do the right thing for our clients. So where are you opening, your future site, and are you opening it in the correct area? And then, we do a lot of tracking, right? We talk about holding all those stakeholders accountable when we talk about construction in our process, and having that one source of truth. Some people don't like that. They don't want to see it all up there, and you need it. You need to identify the outliers. You need to identify where things can be going wrong. This is funny, but for all the women listening, and women in construction, we love our industry, and it's growing with women, which is super exciting. I have to say that, but it's like a contraction, right? Like it shows you when it's going to happen, and you have like 20 seconds before it happens. And looking at smart sheets or whatever, you're going to know when a project is about to derail before you actually.
The data tells a story if you let it. And a lot of people like to manipulate the story with the data in front of them, and I would discourage that. But I think AI takes a whole different look at the data, and it really tells the story for you.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the story of averages, where someone can drown in an average of 3 feet of water.
Yes.
Where one footstep is 50 feet of water, and that's how they drown. But the rest of it is 1 foot of water. So yeah, I hope listeners understand this, and really the manipulation of data, right? What it is and how to interpret it. AI will definitely help with this.
Yep.
And is already helping with this, because now you don't have the misalignment between what it looks like versus what it actually is. So
it's human nature, right? If you said you wanted certain thing to happen and you did it by going this path, and the data is there that doesn't really support it, you can certainly twist it to make it sound right, or you can listen to the data and go the other way. And I think AI is going to make it really clear what to do.
90% of the way there can also be 0% of the way there. It's not a livable home or a livable place, right? 90% doesn't mean 90%. It could also mean something else, or it's just placed in a different way. So, okay, very cool.
Justin, you look like you're about to say something.
Data's super interesting in this regard, and this keeps popping in my brain, and I feel like I need to share it with the two of you. And you might be like, "Yeah, we know," which was a thing I just learned this past weekend. I was with some friends, and they said, "Hey, I just saw this stat that was it was for Chick-fil-A's, and they realized that 30% of people that try to go to Chick-fil-A leave before getting in the drive-thru because it's so long. The drive-thru line's extraordinarily long, which is baffling as an owner, right? To think like 30% of people are just not getting in line to buy your stuff, even though their intention was that, is crazy. And you had mentioned double drive-thru lines earlier, much earlier, and that's when it initially popped in my head, and I'm like, what this data? What am I going to do with this in my brain? Nonetheless, this is where it came out. But to the point of like, how do you figure that out? And it's like, you use technology. That's how you figure these things out.
Well, and think about this, right? So Amanda and I, we've worked with a lot of different brands in quick serve fast food restaurants. And I learned a lot just from, listening to the clients and working with these types of clients. But think about how much time is wasted by the consumer who's in a drive-thru who doesn't know what they want. And they're reading that menu, right? There is data that shows revenue loss because so many drivers spent 90 seconds longer at that window. So there's a thing called preview menu boards. Cha-ching. Guess what? We can put those in for you if anyone's listening. But the preview menu board, while someone's 5 cars back, is there to excite you, educate you, and show you, their best products that, they have at this time. So when you get to that window to order, your decision comes a little bit quicker, right? Time is money. And those people that are driving away, those 30%, those are the same ones hiring Uncle Bob to build their store. They're impatient and they're not paying for quality. So anyway.
But we'll let Uncle Bob bid if you really want him to.
We will let Uncle Bob bid, but we will.
He's going to have to take you out for steak and chicken first, is my understanding. Hopefully it's not Chick-fil-A. Hopefully it's a little bit higher of grade than that. But nonetheless, this has been a ton of fun. I hope the two of you had a blast. You're smiling, which is generally a good sign of having fun, at least a little bit. But we have one last question for you. Will, take it away.
So I'm going to start with Amanda.
Okay.
if you were to go back 20 years, what would you tell yourself? Right. And so this is 2004. And I don't remember what the big events are. Justin, you know this stuff better than I do. What were the big things back in 2004?
My youngest was born in 2004.
Okay, well, there you go.
The most important thing that happened currently. So there we go.
Yeah. Well, I'm prepared for this question.
Ooh,
so I
okay.
have an answer for you. I would tell myself to be brave sooner in my career. You don't need an executive title to impact what you're working on. So under being brave, I would say trust your instinct, not blindly, but definitely trust your instinct more. It's good. Think big. It's okay to throw some dumb ideas out there. People are going to judge you for your best idea, not your worst idea. And then I heard something a couple years ago that really stuck with me. I think it was like in a TED Talk, and it was a woman, and she said, you can quit that job. If you're fighting for a seat at the table, you're probably in the wrong place. So all of that kind of falls under that be brave sooner in your career.
I like that. All right.
Me too. I
love that.
I gotta go.
Yeah, Jacqueline.
That goes a long way.
Go back 20 years. What would you tell yourself?
Swipe left. I'm kidding.
Wait, I want to change mine to that too.
I know. No, honestly, here's the thing, and I'm not going to copy yours, but look, our industry is amazing. I love it. It's also tough, right? We've come a long way. I think I would tell myself, don't settle and know your worth, right? You know, if you're valuable, work for people who value you, get paid how you should be paid. And speak up. Don't be afraid to ask questions. And I'm kind of copying you, but you're right. Like titles, yes, titles are earned, right? And you have to work for things. But I think I have a pretty good work ethic. Like I said, I worked my first job when I was 15. I love working. I'll probably work till the day I die. But know your worth and speak up and be valued. You know, I think I probably stayed at a lot of jobs I shouldn't have, and I probably made a lot less money, you know, when I should have made a lot more money. And until I got smart enough and realized it is when I actually had a voice and then quit that job, right? And found what I was supposed to be and where I was supposed to be. So
I do have a question as a follow-up question because of a conversation I had in the past couple of weeks. There's value in obviously money. That's sort of direct value. But what about the value of experience? So as you know, people are younger, they need the experience. So for them, know your worth. A lot of times they feel, or when you look at the generational divides, the older generations are going to go, you are overvaluing yourself, right? You haven't proven yourself, right? And then someone that's younger, earlier on, to your point, how can someone tell, or how can you tell, how would you have been able to tell where, all right, I'm not getting the value, the experience side where I should cut ties?
you're asking me or
I'm asking you since you brought this up, and this is a conversation that I literally had in the past 2 weeks. So I'm very interested in this answer.
Okay, great. The pressure's really on. I mean, the world's different now, right? We have a lot more resources and a lot of better ways to talk to other people, to read about other people's experiences. I feel like 20 years ago, I didn't know what I didn't know, right? And I feel like things are a little bit more in your face now, good and bad. Back then, the world you weren't really allowed to ask for more money just because you think you deserve it, right? And I didn't have the data maybe to back my reasons, or I didn't have the platforms that we have now to say, well, look what they're doing, and really come to the table with those things, right? You can't just say, I'm working 80 hours a week and I've sold all this and I've met my numbers and I've never called in sick and I'm only making $42,000 a year. Like, you couldn't do that then, where now I feel like you could work one job or 20 jobs. I don't care. I don't know what the answer is. You know, do you stay somewhere 20 years or do you bounce around? I think there's good in both, right? But I know what I'm worth and I know what I'm bringing to my employer, and I know what they're gaining from it. So I don't know if that answers it, but that's the best way I can tell you. I mean, I wish it was like the Jetsons, right? And like, I wish things were different back then, but I also don't, because I also believe I am who I am because of the time I grew up and the time I started my career. And I don't think I'd be who I am today.
Oh, the paradox. Interesting.
Live
Okay.
through that. How's that for psychology? Yeah.
Okay. No, I like the answer. No, thank you.
So if we have time, is that okay?
Yeah, yeah.
So I've managed a lot of people, and I always tell them to advocate for themselves. And I've watched employers have really amazing hires who are doing really great things in a role that they're in, who refuse to consider them for something else because they think they're too valuable in the role that they're in, and they don't want to let them grow into something different. And I tell people to advocate for yourselves, be vocal and say, I want to learn more, I'm capable of more. And if you are with an employer or you have a boss that's not giving you those opportunities, you're asking for them, you are in the wrong place. It's okay to quit that job. Find the right manager who will help you in your career do the things that you want to do, not just the things that you've shown you're already good at.
Yeah.
I like that.
Chills.
Very
I
good.
got chills. I got hairs.
All
up
right. All right. Those were amazing answers. So thank you to both of you for expanding on that. Justin?
That's a great
I think
question.
Yeah, so this is awesome.
close us
What
out.
would be a great way for people to get a hold of you if they would like to do that?
Oh my gosh. So you can go to Cressa.com and find all of our information there. LinkedIn, obviously. Not Instagram. That's kind of weird, but
No.
LinkedIn. Yeah, I mean, anywhere literally on our company website or LinkedIn has all of our information, phone numbers. As Amanda said, cell phone numbers. We're available 24 hours a day. Text us if you want to set up a meeting, email us, call. We'll be at retail spaces for any retailers listening. Super excited to see everyone and meet everyone there. But yeah, it's pretty easy now. Not like 20 years ago. You can literally find anybody on the internet. So if you don't, then and you can't, I don't know. Then we probably don't want to work with you. No, I'm just kidding. It should be pretty easy. So.
Awesome. I will make sure that I put all the links in the show notes and all that jazz. And any last parting words before we say our goodbyes?
This was fun. Thanks for having us
So
on.
fun. You guys are great and love listening to your podcast and learned a lot from the people you had on. So super exciting. Amanda, do you want to do a Wicked Witch cackle to end us?
No, I don't really have one.
No, I'm just kidding. But no, thank you guys so much. And it was great. So looking forward to
Awesome,
more.
awesome.
So.
Listeners, I hope you had just as good a time as we had. And until next time, adios.
Adios.
Thanks for listening to Building Scale. To help us reach even more people, please share this episode with a friend, a colleague, or on social media.
Remember, the 3 pillars of scaling a business are people, process, and technology.
And our mission is to help the AEC industry protect itself by making technology easy.
So if you think your company's technology pillar could use some improvement, book a call with us to see how we can help maximize your IT and cybersecurity strategy. Just go to buildingscale.net/help.
And until next time,
Keep building scale.
scale.